Yo, what's going on everybody? Chadley here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on the balance changes that happened yesterday in Outriders. I know a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about these changes, so yesterday I took the time on stream just to get everybody's different points of views because we're all at different spots in the games. We all have different skill levels. All these different things definitely play into account with these changes and how they are received. So that's also why this video is coming out today instead of yesterday. I did just want to talk to everybody and just get all the different points of view that I possibly could. I'm not going to be going over every single point in these patch notes. If you guys want to read the whole thing, I'll have a link in the description down below. Also in that description, you guys can find the link to our Twitch, which I will be streaming right as this video is going live. So hopefully I'll see you guys over there. Also a link to our Discord if you guys want to join up, find people to play Outriders with. Now, another thing to note, because I know somebody is going to leave a comment like this, and I already know they're still going to do it, even though I'm saying it in the video. And that is, well, why would they nerf when there's still crashes to be fixed, server issues, things like that? Well, the answer is because it is completely different teams. The balance changes are completely separate from everybody else working on crashes, and also the balance changes can be implemented on the fly. That's just changing some numbers, while with the actual technical issues, that has to be actually put out with a patch, which is always going to take longer than a hotfix. So the two major things that I want to talk about were the expedition time changes and also the character balance changes as well. So for each section, I'm going to go ahead and read what is on the patch notes, and then I will give you guys my thoughts and opinions on that specific section. So let's go ahead and start it off with the expedition time changes. So first off, Chem Plant expedition time for gold, silver, bronze adjusted to 650, 1150, and 1500 seconds. Previously 957, 1303, 1650. Now this change was actually very justified in my book. You could honestly take a nap during Chem Plant and still get gold. It was way too easy to get gold, and it honestly is still easy to get gold even after all of the balance nerfs. The gameplay you guys have been seeing in the background so far is gameplay after the nerf. I still get gold during this Chem Plant, and this is me streaming, talking to chat. I'm not even fully focused. So it's still pretty darn easy to get gold in Chem Plant. You just have to make sure you're actually keeping up pace as you're going through. If you guys are having trouble golding Chem Plant, definitely just go ahead and lower that challenge tier. Try to farm up some more mods, better gear, and then level it up, and then try to do Chem Plant again. I promise you guys will get it. You just got to keep working on those builds. But the Boomtown change, in my opinion, was definitely a step in the wrong direction. So the expedition time for gold, silver, bronze was adjusted to 390, 589, and 776 seconds. It was previously 422, 607, and 792. So for gold, they basically shaved off 32 seconds. And this, I don't think, was a great idea. I think Boomtown heavily favored Trickster and Technomancer, as, say, the Trickster can go ham with damage while also just running in the middle of all the enemies and never die. And then Techno just has crazy damage along with the AoE damage that comes with Blighted Rounds. So I think it was very easy for those two specific characters to gold this. But Pyro and Devastator, a lot of their AoE damage comes from abilities which aren't the strongest at the moment, so it's a little bit tougher to get gold on those, and knocking down the time needed by 30 seconds definitely hurt Pyro and Devastator the most. Techno and Trickster can definitely still get gold in this time, but it made it very difficult for the other two. So hopefully they revert the Boomtown time, but Chem Plant definitely warranted. Now, the main section that everybody is talking about is their section on the different bullet abilities. So Twisted Rounds, Blighted Rounds, and Volcanic Rounds. If you guys could not tell, these abilities are incredibly powerful. And they're also fairly darn easy to build around. You get a couple ammo regen mods and just firepower go burr, and you're good to go. You could just run through challenge tier 15 with little to no issues, and you're good to go. While with, like, say, anomaly focused builds, you had to get every single mod correct. You had to get every single passive on your gear correct, upgrade those passives, and play incredibly well during the expeditions to even have a chance of getting gold. So it was definitely outperforming everything else in the entire game. So I do think it was a good thing that they're looking on toning down these abilities, but I would also like to see abilities be toned up in the process. I do think abilities should outburst DPS these bullet abilities. Since these abilities are on cooldowns, you can only do that damage for just like, say, a couple seconds or in an absolute instant. And then you're waiting, say, for Eruption's case, you're waiting like almost 20 seconds to be able to do it again. And there's a lot that can happen in that time, and otherwise you're pretty much useless. So I still would like to see skills brought up a little bit, or at least the mods to boost skills and anomaly percentages, damages, all that good stuff. I would like to see some of those buffed as well. So I did just want to state my thoughts on the actual principle of the nerfs and also what else they should be doing. But now let's go ahead and break down what they actually did to each of the different characters. So starting us off, we're going to be looking at the Twister rounds for Trickster. So the base cooldown for Twister rounds has been increased to 25 seconds. It was previously 16. I honestly had no idea that Twisted rounds was 16-second cooldown. With volcanic rounds on pyro and full cooldown on like a top tree build, you're still not even close to 16 seconds. I want to say it's a little under 20. I think it's around like 18 or 19 seconds, which is crazy that Twister rounds had a base cooldown way lower than the actual lowered cooldown of volcanic rounds. I thought that was just pretty crazy. And with how many mods there are to refill your magazine and keep Twisted rounds up at all times, I definitely think this is perfectly warranted. It's just not going to be carrying you quite as hard in the early game. You guys are going to need to take that extra couple expeditions to find the mods that you need on your gear. And then also for Trickster, they decrease the effectiveness of some of the skill tree nodes. So Disruptive Firepower, Scion of Power, and Outrider Executioner were all reduced to 35% from 50%. Now, I have not played Trickster yet in the full game, so I don't know exactly how these changes are impacting him. But from what I've seen of people playing Endgame Trickster, it doesn't seem to be too different. What seems to be different is the people in the middle of challenge tiers. They say we're running like challenge tier 11, for example, but now they cannot do that. So they had to move down to like 10 or 9. And this is definitely expected. Whether that's a good or a bad thing is going to depend on the person. I can't really comment too much on this because I have not played Trickster yet, but it definitely seems like the end goal for Trickster has not really changed all that much. Now, moving down to the other questionable spot for me is the vulnerable status was reduced to 15%, previously 25%. This goes for every single character. This is global, not just for Technomancer. I think what they should have done here was just reduce those nodes in the Technomancer skill tree that increase the effectiveness of vulnerable, because I definitely still think the other characters have a little bit harder of a time inflicting vulnerable and keeping that up. Pyromancer is pretty good at it, but they don't have like the crazy damage that Technomancer and Trickster do. So I think that was perfectly fine at 25%. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with this change. I don't know if they're going to revert it or whatever, but I think just reducing the increased effectiveness from the Technomancer's tree would be a little bit better than a global vulnerable nerf. Now, also for Technomancer, the skill tree node damage against poison had its power reduced to 15%. It was previously 30%. This is definitely warranted considering with blighted rounds, everything you're shooting has poison applied to it. So that was just a free 30% more damage. It's way too easy to have poison always on an enemy, so I think the reduce to 15% is perfectly fine. Technomancer's still doing an absolutely absurd amount of damage, so it's not really going to make too much of a difference at endgame. Now, finally, the last change was to our boy, the Pyromancer. So the tree node Trial of Ashes at the end of the top Ashbreaker tree, its effectiveness was reduced to 15%. It was previously 30%. This, just like the thing for Technomancer and the Toxic, it was very easy to apply this. Now, unfortunately, I had to waste a mod slot on my gun to be able to apply this all the time, while Technomancer is just innately in the Blighted Round skill itself. So this one's a little bit different, but still Pyromancer does perfectly fine. Ash is still a very, very good status effect and ability, so definitely still be picking this up in that skill tree. So now my overall thoughts on all of these changes. The targeting of the bullet abilities is definitely very good, like I said, but once again, I still want to see some abilities be brought up. I want to see them out DPSing the bullet abilities in those burst times, but once again, we're on cooldowns for those, so it's not really going to overpass them. I think it would be a pretty good balance. The bullet abilities are just going to be consistent damage, while the abilities are just going to be for like boss melting, at least the ones that are designed for it, like Eruption. I think Phaser Beam would be a good one to boost as well. Tools of Destruction for Technomancer, Cyclone for Trickster, and definitely all of Devastator's different abilities, because right now it seems like the best way of doing Devastator is with ability focused builds. Now, after talking to everybody on stream, it seems like the main people impacted by these changes are the people in the middle of grinding through their different challenge tiers. If you guys had a CT15 build all fleshed out and you guys were running CT15 with no problem, you're pretty much not going to notice a difference in your clear times. Just some of the numbers you guys are seeing as you're playing are going to be slightly smaller, but at the end of the day, it's all about that clear speed, and it's pretty much exactly the same. So basically all these changes did at the end of the day is just make it take a little bit more work to grind your way up to CT15. You're not going to be really doing that in a day anymore. You're going to need to farm, get the mods, work on your build, get the right gear. It's seriously going to be a lot more of a grind. But for me personally, that's really not a bad thing. I'm really looking forward to that grind on my other 3 characters. My Pyro is the only character that I have at the upper challenge tiers. Everybody else I haven't even really leveled yet. So me personally, I really do think these changes are good. There's just a couple questionable ones here and there, but the good thing is they're not set in stone. They're always open to changing some of these, maybe boosting them back up, and just finding that nice middle ground. Because this is just the first week of the game. There's a lot more to come. Even though this game isn't live service, that doesn't mean this game is just void of any sort of updates and balance changes. They're always looking to improve the game, but it's just not going to be brand new content every single week. So if you're somebody who is really affected by these changes, do not be ashamed to just drop your challenge tier down a couple. Farm that, do something that you can reliably get gold in your expeditions, farm up your resources, your mods, your gear, and then boost it up to the level that you need to be at, and then try to go from there. Keep working on your builds, your play style in the game. Positioning is huge in all the different expeditions. There's different areas that work best for different builds. So you really do need to learn how to maneuver around the maps along with actually building your builds. I would definitely imagine an ability buff here in the very near future, probably within this week. I would be completely honest with you. I don't think they're going to leave abilities quite as low as they are right now. Like I said earlier, they are viable. They're just not that great. You're always going to be better off with these different bullet builds. But yeah, guys, that's my overall thoughts and opinions on yesterday's balance changes. If you guys are going to be talking about these changes in the comments down below, all I ask is that you guys be respectful to everybody. At the end of the day, we all want what's best for this game because we are all loving it. You wouldn't be watching this video if you hated the game. So please, please, please be respectful to everybody. Like I said at the start of the video, I will be live streaming right as this video is going live. So hopefully I'll see you guys over there. But anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya.